Hi, you guys. It's Yaz, and today I'm going to talk about whatever happens to the narcissist. Everybody wants to know, how do these people end up? How do they deal with getting older and old age? What happens to the narcissist? Well, I'm going to tell you what happens as a narcissist ages, okay? Number one, when a narcissist starts to age, they're going to start to lose their looks. And what happens when a narcissist starts to lose their looks? They start to panic, okay? Now they're doing everything they can to try to look young. They may be doing plastic surgery. They may be going to the gym like crazy to try to get back their youth. And why do they do all these things? Because they need to have supply. So in order to have supply, they've got to look good to attract supply. So narcissists are going to be struggling to try to get that fountain of youth that they once had because they're struggling to keep getting supply. See, narcissists don't just live their lives, settle down with somebody, and grow old with somebody. I mean, they may be with somebody for a long time, but they're always going to have other supply on the side. But as a narcissist gets older, they get more bitter, okay? They get more bitter because they can't do the things that they were able to do when they were younger. They can't get the supply they were able to get. So they're going to get angry. They're going to get bitter. Another thing that they do is they start, they want to hang around young people. An aging narcissist will always be trying to hang around young people in order to feel young. They're the ones who have a real hard time with midlife crisis, okay? Because they feel they need that ego boost. They need that ego boost. They need to feel like they're great. They need that high to feel like they're still young. They don't want to be looked at as older or, in that class of people. Narcissists hate older people. They hate sick people. They hate disabled people. They want to look young. They want to look youthful. And when they start to lose their looks, they start to panic, okay? So they're going to do everything they can to try to look good, all right? No matter what it is, they're going to try to look good because they're in a panic because they're not able to get the same supply they were once able to get. So that this is going to cause them to get angrier and angrier and angrier, all right? They also, as they get older, they have burnt a lot of bridges. The narcissist at that point has a lot of people that they burnt bridges and they've built enemies. As narcissists get older, their enemies list gets bigger, okay? So an aging narcissist always has to worry that maybe somebody that they hurt from their past could come back and try to hurt them. All right? The other thing that you need to be aware of, a lot of aging narcissists will try to come back to older supply when they, as they age, because now they don't have the options that they once had. And that's why the narcissist may all of a sudden reach out to you and you're saying to yourself, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from this person in 5-10 years. Why are they reaching out to me now? Because the narcissist may be getting older. They don't have the supply they once had. They're not doing well. And so they will try you. That's why I tell people, it doesn't matter if you had a really, really bad fight with a narcissist or it ended off bad or you exposed that narcissist. What they'll do is they'll give it time. They'll give it time in hopes that you forget about it or you soften up or you don't, you're not as angry anymore, and they will come back to older supply years down the road. Never say never with a narcissist. How do I know this? Because I have lived it, all right? I had a narcissist come back from my 20s, all right, that I hadn't seen in a long time try to reach out to me on Facebook. I couldn't believe it, right? I hadn't heard from this guy in like 20 years and and it didn't end well. And he had the nerve to reach out to me. Okay. So never say never. Like they don't care. They'll try anybody if they're desperate for supply. And that's exactly what happens. A narcissist starts to get desperate for supply. So what do? They always recycle their exes. They always thinking back on who they had. If they're not doing good with new supply, because as a narcissist ages, it's going to be harder and harder for them to get new supply. So what are they going to do? They're going to fall back on old supply, because they remember that at one time you really, admired them, you really liked them, you were thirsty for them. So they're going to try to get back what they had from you, even if it's years later. But what the narcissist doesn't realize is you've changed. You're not the same person you were when you got involved with that narcissist, all right? And that you're not about to, tolerate their games. You're not putting up with that nonsense, right? So a lot of times they may reach out to you and they get nothing, all right? They get nothing. So narcissists, they're going to, as they get older, as they age, they're going to keep falling back to older supply. This is what happens. They're going to keep trying to get back the older supply, because it's going to be harder for them to get newer and newer supply, because they're not looking as good as they used to look. All right. Now, the caveat to all of this is the narcissist with money. A narcissist with money is always going to be more independent. They will be able to get by because they have money. And as long as they have money, they will be able to have people around them, because there will be other narcissistic people that will, migrate to the narcissist because of that money. They need money. They want money. They want the narcissist to give them money. So narcissist with money will always have people around. Okay. No matter what, all right? So, but the narcissist who's the broke, busted narcissist, that's the one who's really, really going to struggle. They're going to struggle because they have nothing to offer to get new supply. The only thing they could do is try to work their charm, but that could only get you so far, all right? That could only get you so far, because charm alone doesn't always work. So narcissists are going to be very, very angry, bitter that they're losing their looks. They're going to be, struggling to get that older supply that they once had. Their circle is going to get smaller and smaller. As a narcissist ages, their circle gets smaller and smaller. And guess what happens with that? What happens is the narcissist eventually clings on to whoever they can cling on to, because they have to have somebody. The narcissist can never, ever stand alone. There's always got to be somebody there. Even if the narcissist can't stand this person, they will keep somebody around. So the narcissist is going to have to settle for not who they want, but who they have to keep around in order to not feel alone. So they're going to end up settling with somebody that they don't necessarily want to be with. And what are they going to do to that person? They're going to torture that person. That's what they're going to do. They're going to torture that person because they're going to be angry that that person is not really who they wanted. They lost who they wanted in their youth when they had them. And as they got older, now they had to settle for whoever was around. This is what happens. Narcissists settle for whoever is around just to have somebody. So the person they're with is going to take a lot of abuse. This is what happens. Usually it's somebody who probably has low self-worth, that can't be on their own themselves, and they stay with the narcissist because, they need to have somebody as well. So they put up with the narcissist's abuse. Or maybe, the narcissist has money, so this is why they could stay with them too, all right? So they're going to torture whoever is left around as the narcissist is older, all right? Also, I want you guys to keep in mind that as the narcissist gets older, if they were with the empath will get stronger. This is what happens. Things turn. In the beginning of the relationship, the narcissist had the power, had the strength. And if they were involved with an empath, the empath was the one that, was being controlled and was being abused. But as time goes on, the narcissist gets weaker and the empath gets stronger, because the empath is now learning what the narcissist is all about. And if it's a super empath type of person, they're going to not take the nonsense of the narcissist. They're going to end up giving it back to them and not taking their nonsense. So the empath is going to become stronger because now the narcissist isn't as independent as they once were. They may even become dependent on the narcissist may become dependent on the empath to take care of them, okay? The empath will end up being the caregiver to the narcissist. This is what happens. The narcissist needs to cling on to somebody because they need a caregiver. They need somebody that's going to take them to doctors, care for them when they're sick, be there for them, nurture them, be a mommy figure to them as they get older. And so they need an empath who will do that. Because if they're involved with another narcissist is going to leave them for dead or throw them in a nursing home and look the other way and not care, okay? The narcissists are the ones that are not, narcissists are not nurturers. So they will not want to be bothered with another narcissist or anybody getting sick for that matter. That's why a narcissist has to end up with an empathic type of person to take care of them. This is what they need. They need somebody to take care of them, and they need somebody who's going to take their nonsense, somebody who's going to, take all their abuse and everything like that. So the bottom line is this, you guys, it doesn't end up well for the narcissist, okay? They end up getting older. They end up getting angrier and bitter because they've lost what they had, which is their looks and having the attention of multiple supply. They now have to learn to settle with whatever is around, which they're not happy about, and which they're going to torture whoever ends up being around the narcissist. So who's ever around the narcissist when they get older, they're going to be putting up with a lot of shit. This is a fact. As the narcissist gets older, they get more angry, more bitter, and they look to abuse or victimize whoever is around them. This is what they're going to do because they're angry about their life, all right? They're angry that they don't have what they once had, all right? Which is all that attention. So it's, you ever want to crush a narcissist, just take the attention away from them and make them feel alone. This destroys a narcissist. They will get depressed. Some of them will get suicidal. They will not be able to deal with life. Some of them will want to die because they can't handle how their life is going later on, because they feel there's no point in their life later on, because, the only point of life is to be able to feel like there is somebody and to get all that attention. So they start to crumble. As the narcissist gets older and they get weaker and they get sicker, they start to crumble. They're not ones that want to fight to the end, okay? Because they don't feel like there's much to fight for, because they don't have what they had. They don't value life the way other people value life, all right? The narcissist, they feel that, if they don't have an abundance of supply, if they don't have, money and big houses and big cars, if they're losing all these kind of things, they're going to feel like there's no purpose in life anymore. And they're either going to torture who's ever around them, or they're going to become depressed and want to die at that point. They want to die because they don't have what they once had. I knew a narcissist who was aging, and towards the end, I couldn't even believe it, because this person was such a strong person. And as they were aging, they were starting to have that narcissistic collapse because they couldn't live their life they once had. They were sick, they were weak, they couldn't come and go like they could. And I remember them saying something like, "Oh, I just want to die. I just want to die." Okay? Because they feel like there's no purpose in life unless they are getting that dopamine excitement rush. Okay? They don't see the beauty and joy in other things in their life, like being around a loving family or a loving partner. No, they don't value that. They value excitement. They value multiple partners. They value money. They value possessions. They need they need that rush, you guys. That's what it is. Narcissists need instant gratification, instant pleasure, and if they're not getting it and they have to live a quiet life and they're aging, they're going to fall into a deeper and deeper depression. You'll find many narcissists that are severely depressed later on in life because they've lost everything. They've lost family members. They may have lost their children because the children don't want to be around them. The children remember that the narcissist was not there for them. Children are perceptive. They remember who was there for them and who wasn't later on. And they may distance themselves from the narcissist unless the narcissist aligns with one of their kids and is giving them plenty of money, okay? That's how narcissists keep maybe a child around, is by spoiling them, all right? But if the other children, or if they don't do that, the narcissist ends up alone, angry, bitter, torturing who's ever around. Who's ever around ends up being their caregiver, where they torture them as well. Then they lose their zest for life and they just want to die. And that's the culmination of what happens to the narcissist as they age. And, they doesn't end up well for them. It doesn't end up well because they lose good people and they don't value certain things in life that they should value. A narcissist forever wants to be living their life young. And so they don't want to deal with old age and aging. And, there's no beauty in that to them. Okay. There's no purpose in life to them as they age because they can't do the things that they once were able to do. And they have a hard time with that. They have a hard time living a quiet, peaceful life and aging. It's very, very difficult for them. And that's why they're always fighting with the people that are in the house. So an aging narcissist is going to be constantly picking fights to be able to control things and feel important. That's why they're always fighting with everybody, because they're angry inside about their situation. And God help whoever's around the narcissist later on in life, because they're going to take the brunt of it. All right. Not only that, as they age, all of that abuse that they put on their body is going to catch up to them. All those years of drinking, drugging, multiple sex partners is going to put wear and tear on that body, and it catches up to you. How you treat your body, you guys, will affect you later on in life. You may not feel it when you're young, because when you're young, you think you're invincible. You think you could do anything. You think you could be up 4 nights in a row partying. But guess what? That 4 nights in a row partying stores up in your body, and later on your body will break down. You may end up with high blood pressure. You could end up with cancer. You could end up with a whole host of other diseases and illnesses just from abusing your body by living in a fast life. And this is what happens to the narcissist. They've lived such a fast life that their body breaks down as well. They all have medical issues. So many narcissists, even young ones, they all every last one that I know, every last one has a medical issue. Okay. And they're not old. They have medical issues, high blood pressure, other issues with their bodies, because their bodies are breaking down from their fast lifestyle, the stressful lifestyle, the fact that they're anxious, and a lot of them are depressed, but they don't show that. This all will have a bad impact on the narcissist later on as they age. So it doesn't end up well for the narcissist. Okay. So don't be around a narcissist as they age, because they will look to take it out on you. Okay. So I hope that helps you. If it does, hit the subscribe button, share the podcast. If you're looking for confidential one-on-one phone coaching, check out the link in the bio at askgaz.wixsite.com/thegameexposed. If you're confused, you don't know if you're dealing with a narcissist, what type of narcissist they are, you don't know how to handle them, you need advice, check out that link in the bio at askgaz.wixsite.com/thegameexposed. Check out my YouTube, you guys. I lay it down on there. Over 6,000 videos. I cover, I think, almost every topic on narcissism, I believe. So do a search on my YouTube channel at the Game Exposed podcast for whatever you're looking for. Discard, covert, I do a lot on covert narcissists, okay, because I know them so well. So check it out. Also, my TikTok is the Game Exposed. Instagram is the Game EXP123, and Facebook for now is the Game EXP777. And have a great day.